Hello everyone. I hope I am audible. Can you guys hear me clearly? Okay. So some of the students they are still joining. I'm just going to start in like basically maximum 2 to 3 minutes. Just going to just give me okay. Um, okay. So did you guys put your questions in there where I asked? I think I have seen some additional questions, but not many. Walaikum Salam, everyone. Walaikum Salam. So we are going to revise everything from the beginning, from the very start. Okay, so we are going to start with the basics, with the very, I mean, literally the small things, and then we are going to go towards covering the entire paper with some tricks, some things which have been added because you guys requested in your questions. So I just uh, added this. Okay. Now, okay. So just come on, guys. I'm waiting. I'll try. I think hopefully I'll try to come. Inshallah. I'll, you can ask me some questions there as well. So let me just see what we're doing. Just going to do a little adjustment here. Oh, so how? I think it's open. Yes, I think I'm pretty sure that it's open. I don't think it's closed because they are uh, there have been no such news yet whether it's closed or it's open. So can you just quickly ask people to join so that we can start? I'm just no, it's not tomorrow off. Just tomorrow is not off, guys. Okay, just uh, you can do past paper of any year after 2020, but there are two questions or two to three two types of questions which are not in any past papers. So we are going to cover those questions in today's session. Yeah, yeah, of course. We are going to cover weaknesses and strengths as well. I don't know if I remember you. You have to tell me your real name. I can only know that then whether I remember you or not. Okay, so I'm gonna start at 9:40, whether regardless of people have joined or not. Guys, we are going to start at 9:40, regardless if someone has joined or not. So just waiting for one more minute. Inshallah, if you follow all the guidance that I have provided, your paper will be you. It will be fine, inshallah. But you should also understand that do some practice apart from that. Okay, so let's just start, guys. I'm just going to present windows. Okay, so this is the window that I need to show. Okay, uh, can you guys see it? Okay, is it visible? Yeah, I'm starting. Is it visible? Okay, great. Now let's start. The written examination. It's same for whether you are doing 0457 or you are doing 2069. It doesn't matter. In both the scenarios, the pattern is same. The questions are same. So there are four questions. There's going to be one resource. The resource is going to be further divided into four sources. You should spend at least 5 minutes on reading this source carefully. There are going to be four questions. Question number one is going to be of four parts. Question number two of two parts. Question number three, somewhere between one to three parts. It can be one part, two part, or three parts. And then question number four, of course, we know the big question. It is a one part question. Now, the examination time is 1 hour 25 minutes. Previously, it used to be 1 hour 15 minutes. So it's good. You guys now have 10 more minutes. The exam marks are 70, which covers 35% of your overall grade. You have 200 marks in total, 70 marks for your written examination, 70 for your group project, and 60 for your individual report. Now, coming to the first type of questions. Before coming to the first type of question, I'm just going to make sure that it's still clear. Okay. The presentation is not lagging, right? Last time the presentation was lagging a bit. It's not lagging, right? It's not lagging. Is it lagging, guys? I need an answer quickly. Can you tell me? No lag. It's not lagging. That's good. Okay. Going back now. The first type of questions that are going to come in the examination are the identification questions. Now, The identification questions can come in three different types. The first is identifying information. For example, they can ask you about a country, that which country has the highest number of people migrating to another country, or they can also ask you about some information like which city or which news channel or which newspaper wrote this. So any information, any particular information can be you can be asked to identify. And then the other type of identification is the identification of numerical data. This is very common actually. The percentage of population increase, the number of people who sleep hungry every day across the world, the number of people who are let's say migrating, number of people who are illiterate in any particular country. All this is identification of numerical data. And then finally there is identification of trend. For example, the number of people from uh, traveling through airplanes, is it increasing, decreasing, or constant. So the trend is basically it's increasing. The trend can only be of three types. It can either be of increasing nature, it can be of decreasing nature, or it can be of constant nature. So just uh, see, just read carefully, and these are very easy questions to identify. Let's just quickly do an example of this. That's if this is the source, and let's say they ask you how many cities monitor air pollution. Now, if you look here at the last line, air pollution is now monitored in 6,000 cities. So that's your answer. How many cities monitor air pollution? It's 6,000. And then in source 2, they are asking you to identify two advantages of electric vehicles. So again, let's move to the answers. Yeah, this is how you can write this answer. You can either write it in this way. The two advantages are that they do not produce exhaust gas pollution and are less noisy, or you can number them. Number one, no exhaust gas pollution. Number two, less noisy. Any of these ways is fine, as long as you are identifying the correct thing from the data. One of the issues that students usually the mistakes the students usually make in this question is that they identify the question the required information before reading the entire thing. Sometimes what's happening is that the examiner is giving you one information which might be closely related to your question, but he's not giving you the information that is exactly the same. For example, we can see that many people are hungry, like 1 million people are hungry in Asia. And then in the next question he can say that across the world there are 400 there are 4 million people who sleep hungry every night. Now the two informations are very close to each other, but what might happen is that he might ask you about the one another, so be careful about that. Am I lagging, guys? Am I lagging, or are you guys lagging? What is it? One of the other is lagging. Either I am lagging or you guys are lagging. We will discuss war some other time, but let's just focus on this. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now, the next is the significance question. This question used to be 4 marks. Now it's 8 marks. the examiner can basically ask you about any of these things. He can ask you about some reasons or causes or impacts or consequences. I've written impact twice for some reason. It's basically I wanted to write effects and writing impacts, basically more or less the same thing. Now, can you guys see this clearly? I don't know why it is lagging. Is it changing now? I'll try to keep coming back to this window so that every time it changes. Okay. Okay. So now the importance of this question has increased. Before it used to be 4 marks, now it's 8 marks. And examiner is asking you a very simple thing. He is asking you to identify one thing, one. Either it can be one consequence, one impact, one reason, whatever it is. And then he's going to ask you to justify that. And by justifying that, it means that why do you think this is the most important one? For example, let's see this source. In this source, uh, the examiner has given us one, two, three, four, five consequences of e-commerce on employment. And then he has asked us a question. Now, this part of the question, source 1 and 2 suggest the consequences of unemployment due to e-commerce. This is irrelevant. You do not have to do anything about this part. This is just a statement. Many students get confused due to this statement and they start listing down multiple consequences of e-commerce. Do not do that. If you do that, you will lose marks. The real question is the second line, which is which consequence of e-commerce on employment do you think is the most significant? Explain why. That is the question. That is the real uh, thing, not the line above it. Okay. Now, to get full marks in this question, you have to choose one consequence and then give 4 to 5 reasons, like well written reasons in its justification, that why do you think it's the most important consequence. Let's see a sample answer. Now I'm just gonna make sure once again that the sample answer is visible. Yeah, so it is visible. So I'm just going to go back to full screen. I believe worker exploitation is the most significant consequence of e-commerce on unemployment. On employment. So that's your 1 mark now. Now you have to get the other 7 marks for reasoning. Worker exploitation mostly impacts workers who are down the order, meaning that they are already pressured by upper management. This further adds to it. The exploitation can take many forms, from paying limited wages to getting extra hours out of workers. It can further more increase the mental pressure on workers, affecting their health. Too much work also adds a physical toll, which can be harmful in the long term. Workers who are exploited also have other fields of their life impacted by this, like their personal relations, their family life, etc. It also creates a vicious cycle, meaning that when exploited workers get in position of power, then they are more likely to behave in the same way to their subordinates. Yani, they will also exploit. मतलब, it's a vicious cycle. It continues. It leads to more exploitation. Finally, it's a consequence that further creates more consequences like economic inequality and concentration of wealth. Many people might even quit and become unemployed due to this pressure. So you write something like that, 5 elaborated reasons, you are going to get full marks. I'm just going to see the questions. Any questions? My controller. However, unclear screen searching issues. Okay, we will handle all the questions. Just relax. Just hang in there. Okay. Now going to types of statements. Uh, we all know that there are seven types of statements. There is fact, opinion, predictions, which are very basic, very simple. Then there is value judgment, which is, I mean, nemesis of many of the students. Then there is bias and vested interest, and then there is generalization. So you will see that I have highlighted generalization. Why have I highlighted generalization? Because it is the newly added type of statement, and it is going to come in this exam 100%. The marks are going to be somewhere between the range of 3 to 6, somewhere between the range of 3 to 6. And uh, how are you going to attempt it? We are just going to cover it. Okay. So fact, opinion, prediction, very simple. Fact is something that can be backed by evidence. Opinion is like your point of view about something. It varies from person to person. Prediction, again, very simple. When you are forecasting something about the future, it may or may not happen. That's prediction. But let's move on to the difficult ones first. Yes, nemesis. Now first let's go to generalization. Can you, yeah, you can see it. So when a generalization question comes, the first task is to identify the generalized statement correctly, and students are still committing mistakes in that. So what is a generalized statement? Basically, a generalized statement is that when the a statement is saying something in a way that this is always the case. It's always the case, always. It, it always happens like this. And while that might only be the case some of the times, it might not be true all of the times. So just give me 1 second, guys. So sorry for that, someone needed the card key. Anyway, so how are you going to attempt the generalization question? That is important. The first thing is, like, for example, this, let's say this is the statement in the exam: if you get a degree you will get a good job. This statement is a case of generalization. Now, why is this a case of generalization? Because you are not always sure, it's not always 100% that such a state that you get a degree and you will get a good job. You have seen many people who get a degree and still they're either driving Ubers, or matlab, sometimes they're working in low income jobs. So it is not a necessity that you get a degree you will get a good job. It's the writer is saying something like it's true all of the time, but it's only true some of the time. So then in the next phase, you define a generalization is a statement where the writer is projecting something to be true all of the times while it is only true some of the times. As and then final part is your justification. As not all people who get a degree end up getting a good job, and many struggle in their life, this is a case of generalization. So these are the three parts to this question: identifying, defining, and justifying. You do all three, even if it's 6 marks, even if it's not going to come for 8 marks, but even if it is, you will get full marks. Is that clear now? Generalization is clear now. Let's move forward. Now comes the value judgment. The uh, Many students who are still struggling with this, many students still have value judgment as their nemesis. For them, it's the good news is that value judgment is not very likely to come this time. It is coming one. it is becoming less and less common in examinations, and especially with the introduction of generalization, it is very likely that value judgment will not come in the exam tomorrow. But still, you must be prepared. You never know. So, what is the definition of value judgment? A statement about the rightness, wrongness, or importance of something based on someone's personal views. It cannot be verified. That's the definition. Remember it. Just keep it in your mind at all times. Now, usually students have a lot of difficulty in identifying the value judgment statement. For those students, I have some tips. Like, look for the words like need, should, important, not important, must, necessary to. These are the terms which are actually putting a stress in the sentence, that something should be done like this, or it is the need of the hour to do that. That's what value judgment is. But that's, again, these are just tips. This is not always the case. Sometimes what might happen, that these terms might be in a sentence and they are not value judgment. So again, you have to be careful, but still, again, these tips might help you. Some examples of value judgments are there. Children should not be allowed to have their own mobile phones before the age of 15. Now, this is a value judgment. Why? Because indirectly, the writer is saying that having mobile phones, the children having mobile phones before the age of 15 is not good. That's what he is actually saying. I know you guys might not agree with this, but this is not. I'm just giving you examples. It is the need of the hour to homeschool children. Again, putting stress on something. Learning about your culture is not important. Here he is saying that something is not important. Straightforward. This is easy. When he uses the word important or not important, then that becomes easy to actually identify. But it's basically the should sentences, the must sentences that are basically difficult to identify. But still, he's just saying that it learning about your culture is not important. It's very simple. Okay. Does that make it clear? An opinion and value judgment can be the same thing. Basically, Meyer, what happens is that uh, a value judgment is basically a subset of opinion. In other words, all value judgments are opinions, but not all opinions are value judgments. Why? Because opinion can be something very simple, like, for example, vanilla is the best flavor of the ice cream, black is the uh, best color for a suit, or you can say that I like spring weather. That's your opinion. Again, these are all opinions. These are not value judgments. Value judgments means when not only it's an opinion, but it is also saying whether something is right, wrong, or important or unimportant, and again, it cannot be verified. uh, we just covered generalization. You want me to basically re- revise it? I can go back to generalization for a minute. It's basically that a generalization is a statement where the writer is projecting something to be true all of the times, while it is only true some of the times. For example, if a writer is saying uh, all uh, all Western countries have a high happiness index, that's just generalization. There are many countries, Western countries, in which people are not happy. Something like all countries in South America have a high crime rate. No, there are countries like Peru, which have a very controlled crime rate. So again, this is generalization. If you get a degree, you will get a good job. It's not always necessary that you get a degree, you get a good job. That's what generalization is. If people come together, they can achieve great things. It's not necessary. It might happen that when people come together, they might start fighting, and they end up achieving nothing. So all these statements are basically generalizations. That's what they are. So just be mindful of what you're doing. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, bias and vested interest again. Very similar. Bias is when you are unfairly prejudiced about something, and vested interest is when you have an expectation of profit and loss at a personal or near personal level. But the impact of both of these things are the same. Both of these things impact your opinion, and your opinion becomes skewed. So, how do you know that something is bias or vested interest? Now, for this, you have to look at the source. The source of bias is in past, for example something which happened in the past like your upbringing, your nationality, while the source of vested interest is the future expectations. For example, if your opinion is being impacted due to your nationality or your religion, then you are biased because you were born, your birth is a past thing, your nationality is a past thing, your religion is a past thing. uh, then if your opinion is being impacted because of a certain project that will impact your business, then it's your vested interest because now you see the future whether you are getting going to get loss from that project, or you are going to get benefit from that project. So if your opinion is getting affected from that, then that becomes vested interest. So that's the difference between bias and vested interest. Very simple. If it's clear, we can move forward. Yeah, sometimes the slides get stuck. It's okay. You guys just uh, give me a notification whenever that happens. I'll just change it. Okay. Now, coming to the perspective question. Again, these questions, many students are not attempting these questions clearly now. The perspective question, examiner is going to ask you to explore a certain personal, organizational, local, national, international, or even a group of people's perspectives. The perspective is already mentioned in the source, but you have to interpret it properly. Okay, like read source 2 for like a bit. Let's read source 2 first. We are a food charity campaigning in world hunger, rising food prices mean that food shortages affecting world. Hmm. We must have compassion and care. Okay, so now from source to describe the food charity's perspective on hunger. Acha, one mistake that people are one mistake that people are doing in this question is they are regurgitating, they are just repeating what the examiner is saying. You know, you don't have to do that. Keep in mind, in majority of global perspective exam paper questions, except for the identification question, you have to basically analyze, interpret, evaluate instead of regurgitate. Now, what the examiner is asking you here is to think from the point of view of the food charity and see what they are striving for, what they want, what are the issues they are facing, and then write their perspective. That's what the question is really asking. Um, let's just see if this solution will further clarify things for you. The food charity aims to rid the world of hunger. That's their task. They realize that increasing food prices, which are a result of pandemics and food shortages, are only adding to already existing world hunger issues. So again, we are writing from a point of view that what they are thinking, what the issues they are facing. If people and organizations don't take proper action, then many more people will be affected by this plight. They are urging people to care for others and contribute towards their cause. They are also elaborating the consequences of hunger for people and how these consequences seep to other walks of their lives. Finally, they want people to come together for this issue as they realize that collective action is a better solution for this problem. Again, if you clearly see that I have not taken a single sentence and written it as it is. I've just tried to go behind the thinking. I have tried to go behind their point of view, their perspective, their aims, and then written that in the paper, in the answer. That must that cleared things. That should have cleared things up for you. Actually. Now let's move on. Okay. Now we are done with question number one. Now let's move on to question number two. Question number two again has two parts. The first part is strengths and weaknesses, and the second part is again testing a claim. The strength and weaknesses question has changed. Now this is again a change in the exam. Before, the examiner used to give you a statement, and then they used to say what are the strengths and weaknesses of the argument supporting this claim. Now the examiners shows you a research that has been carried out in source 3 and asks you to evaluate the strengths or weakness of that research. For example, if you look at this, let's look at this, a school students research project, and then the question is explain the strengths and weaknesses of the research outlined in source 3. So how do we attempt it now? The first thing is that you should have a clear idea uh, how to evaluate strengths and weaknesses. The strengths and weaknesses of a research are, for example, strengths are if he's using factual facts to support his opinion, numerical data, international organizations point of view, NGOs, governmental data. If he has a good line of reasoning, if his project aim, project question, these things are clear. And then weaknesses are if he's just looking for opinions, the information he's sharing is outdated, there is no let's say international organizational data, he's biased, he has a vested interest. All these things are weaknesses. Okay, so let's see if the answer clarifies it up for you guys. Okay, so this is the answer. It's good to write it. Whether you, if you think there are more strengths, then write it in the first line. If you think there are more weaknesses, then write it in the first line. The research has more. Can you guys see it again? I'm just gonna clarify. You are supposed to, yeah, you are supposed to write their perspective, but not what's written in the source. Actually, from right from their point of view. But let's cover this question first. Then I'll take questions at the end of the session. Okay. Let's see. So the research has more weaknesses as compared to strengths. First of all, the research methods are limited to interviews. Oh, sorry. Which means that the scope of research is very limited, and the type of data acquired would also be very limited. There is no research question which could give a direction to the overall research. There were disturbances when the interview was taking place, meaning the data could be incomplete, and furthermore, as the sample size is so small, there is no way to cross check and analyze the data. The interviewee had an obvious bias and vested interest as well, which further reduces the authenticity of the research. The information is also an extract from a student's diary, which is a weakness as well. Finally, there is no statistical or factual evidence included to strengthen up the research findings. However, the research also has some strengths. First of all, research was conducted after obtaining ethical permission from the manager. There is a clear aim of the research, and during the interview, the researcher kept taking notes to ensure that data doesn't get lost. The source person is also personally involved in the issue and has had personal experience in the field. There is also a quotation added from the interviewee, which adds to the strengths of the research. So, this is how you write this question, and if you write it something like this, then you can easily get 7 to 8 marks. There's no reason you should lose any marks in this question. Now, coming to the second part of this question number 2, part 2, which is basically testing a claim. Again, this is a question in which many students still commit mistakes. The examiner is asking you a very simple thing. He's saying that if this claim is presented to you in real life, for example, in a real life scenario, if someone asks you that uh, most people enjoy growing their own food, how can you test it? So how are you going to actually test it? Who are you going to ask? How are you going to conduct the research? Which sources of information are you going to check? That is what the examiner is asking. He's not asking you to start testing it yourself or start giving your opinion on it or start chasing the claim, as I call it. Don't do any of these things. See? One change: before, the examiner said that examiner used to ask you about sources of evidence, types of information, and methods. Now just evidence and methods. This is a good change basically, because sources of evidence and types of information would often overlap. Now let's see this answer. The answer is written right in front of you, if you can see it here. This claim could be tested in a variety of ways. We can approach relevant experts of the field, people who grow their own food, and ask them whether they enjoy doing so or not. The individual testimony of these experts would be a strong indicator of the validity of this claim. We can create a questionnaire or a survey online to reach a bigger sample. Our statistical analysis of the responses can be used to test this claim as well. Observing the attitudes of people who grow their own food can also be a good indicator towards confirming or rejecting the claim. Coming towards secondary research methods, articles on the internet relevant to the topic can give a good idea to a researcher. But in order to solidify his or her conclusion, it's important to review research reports and case studies published by official authorities and governments. This also gives additional authenticity to your verdict. Data from pressure groups, charities, and NGOs is also valuable in this case, as it can give an outside perspective to the research. So, if we combine the quantitative and qualitative data and information that has been extracted through these methods, it should provide us with enough evidence to test this claim and that whether most people enjoy growing their food or not. So, you can even remember this sample answer, and yeah, it will be definitely be uploaded there automatically. Don't worry about that. That's why I do it on YouTube, so I don't have to record it. The meet sessions, they don't record beyond 59 minutes, so that's why I switched to YouTube. It's better. People can view it later on as well. Anyway, so let's is this question clear? The testing a claim question clear now? Not clear? Clear? Yes, no, thumbs up. Okay, good. Now, coming to the so this is question number 2 done. Now, yes, evaluation of argument. This question can come somewhere between 14 to 16 marks. And let's say it comes for 16 marks, you can easily get 15, 14, 15, or in some cases if your response is too good, you can even get 16 marks in this question. But for that, you need to do two things. First, you have to identify the strengths and weaknesses, or evaluate both the arguments in a good way. And second, you have to follow the structure properly. The answer should be well structured. I'm telling you this structure, this is a tried and tested structure. It always works. The students get very high marks when they follow this particular structure. So, what is this structure? Very simple. In your very first line, you tell the examiner whose argument you found more convincing, and then you follow it up by evaluating the argument of the person you found more convincing. First his strengths, then his weaknesses. More strengths than weaknesses. Then in the next paragraph, do not continue in the same paragraph. If you continue in the same paragraph, it becomes difficult for examiner to intercept where you have shifted from evaluation of one person to the evaluation of the second person. Do not do that. Make two paragraphs at least in this question. If you are short of space, ask for an extra sheet, but do not keep write it all in one paragraph. For the last two questions, paragraphing and structure is absolutely important. So when you are done with evaluation of Seth, then you come to the evaluation of the second person whose argument you found weaker. Again, weaknesses and strengths, and then followed up by conclusion. Conclusion is the same as the intro line, there's no difference, but just make sure that you have done the evaluation in a good way. Now let's read this sample answer. I believe Seth's argument is more convincing as compared to Grace. So we have done this. First of all, he uses a variety of evidence in support of his argument. For example, he mentions case studies on two different countries from a magazine. He also mentions that a reputable organization, United Nations, also supports his point of view on the topic. Furthermore, he gives example of a country, South Africa, to strengthen his case. He has a clear stance on the topic, and he uses relevant examples and strong argumentation to back it up. Always remember, argumentation and line of reasoning are also strengths. His line of reasoning is clear and effective, and he's also enthusiastic about the issue, as can be seen from this his last two lines, where he's pushing everyone to take action. Okay. However, there are also some weaknesses in his argument. He doesn't consider the global scenario, which means a lack of global perspective on the topic. At times, he has used generalization in his overenthusiasm, and many of his evidences are not properly referenced, which takes away some authenticity from them. Now you're done with the evaluation of one person, then you go to the next paragraph. Now, coming to Grace, there is a very little use of evidence to support her claim, as she relies on opinions for the most part. She also assumes a lot of things without mentioning any proper reasoning for those assumptions. Furthermore, she is mentioning technological trends whose viability and affordability are not known yet. Due to the involvement of her father, it is possible that her argument is biased and there might be vested interest for her in this matter as well. However, there are also some strengths in her to her argumentation. She is experienced in the field on an account of her father, and she also used a lot of examples to support her claim. Her values are clear and easy to understand, and from her argumentation, it is also clear that she understands the topic at hand. By analyzing and evaluating the points mentioned above, it's clear that Seth's argument is more convincing as compared to Gray's. Again, like I said, follow this structure, get maximum marks, no issues. Clear. Okay. So no questions for this. Let's move forward. Oh, sorry. Now comes the last question, which is the course of action question. Again, like I said before, like I said many times, in this question, your content, as well as your structure. Both are equally important. And the structure can be simple, like start by choosing your recommended option. Just mention your what's your recommended option is. You do not need to include any introduction. Then justify your chosen option. This should be roughly 40% of your response, can be 45 in some cases, even up to 50. Explain why the other two options are not feasible. Do not be too negative here, like be careful here. Like you have to uh, reject them in a good way. Explore another perspective if possible. Optional conclusion. For this, you can also use your own knowledge and info from the source. Yes, this is very important. To answer this question, your personal knowledge as well as the knowledge that is there in the source. Both use both of them as much as you can. Maximize your advantage. Okay. Now, let's look at a course of action question. This is a course of action question. A government wants to encourage migrants to come and work in their country. The following actions are being considered: giving financial support for businesses to employ migrants, relaxing restrictions on migration, offering language and cultural courses to migrants. Which of one of these actions would you recommend to the government and why? In your answer, you should state your recommendation, give reasons and evidence to support your choice, use the material in the source and or any of your own ideas, and finally consider different arguments and perspectives. This should be here. Okay. Consider different arguments and perspectives. Now, I have written a sample answer. Let's review the sample answer. What's happening? Is it okay? No, no, it's fine. I thought it's some cutting is happening. It's not happening. Okay, so I believe that giving financial support to businesses to employ migrants is the best option to encourage migrants to come and work in a country. That's your first thing done. Like I said before, give your answer in the very first line, give your conclusion in the very first line, give your selected option in the very first line. Do not go into an intro or some complicated explanations. The examiners do not like that. Then come your justification for the choice that you have selected. There are multiple reasons for this choice. First of all, this is the most direct course of action, meaning that government will be paying the businesses to do exactly what they want, as opposed to the other two options, which are indirect courses of action. This is courses of action. Right. Uh, Businesses will profit from this as it will reduce their cost of production. This can help reduce inflation in the market. Another benefit is that this step would have a quick impact. In the long term, if the government feels that enough migrants have been employed and wants to discontinue this approach, they can always stop the funding and the program can be halted. As we know that in majority of cases, migrants are much more hardworking as compared to local population, something which has also been referenced in source 4. Now I'm using my personal information and source information both. See, putting these migrants directly in the labor market is going to be beneficial for the country. Many companies try to exploit migrants when they hire them. If government is paying these companies, it will keep an eye on them while also avoiding their exploitation. This is a very good point actually. While one issue that can arise from this is that local public can protest this step as businesses will start hiring more migrants as compared to locals. This can also create friction among different races in the long term, but with careful planning this can be avoided. Finally, I would like to say that if migrants are working for companies, that means that they are easy to keep an eye on. Usually countries face issues when it comes to surveillance of migrants. This will also be taken care of through this course of action. Now, this is the first part of our question done. We are, you can't see the answer? Guys, can you not see the answer? Okay. Now, this is the first part of the question done. Now, moving to the second part. Now, this is the second part of the question. I do not. Okay, sorry for that. Once again, yes. I do not favor relaxation of immigration policies because while this can work to attract immigrants quickly, the scope of this course of action would go beyond the working population. With easy ways to come into the country, many shady characters would seek to enter the country and might even commit shady activities. This can increase the crime rate in a country and would also make it hard to keep a surveillance on those people. We can see that in countries like USA and Canada, the relaxed immigration policies are now being reversed by the authorities, showing the negative impacts of this action. Now, this is one rejected course of action done. Now we move to the second rejected course of action. And once again, I cannot reiterate enough how important paragraphing is here. Please paragraph here. It is very important. Examiner reads your answer carefully. Examiner is going to uh, be more willing to give you more marks. Okay. So if we have a quick look at now, let's move to the second part. If we have a look at offering language and cultural courses to migrants, I believe that this is a very indirect course of action. First of all, those people would already be in the country, then it's not clear whether they are even capable of entering the job market or not. And finally, they might not be motivated to work even after receiving these courses. Another aspect that is that creating interest in a foreigner to learn your local culture is not an easy or straightforward task. They might feel like they are being compelled to learn something they don't want to learn. Like, for example, if some foreigner comes and you ask him to learn your culture, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to." So, again, this is a negative point. Now, in the next paragraph, it's a small one, but I have covered another perspective. From a global perspective, we can see that countries like Germany, Japan, and Canada have successfully injected migrant labor force into their economy by providing incentives to both migrants and businesses. So, this is a tried and tested approach. Now, in this paragraph, I have once again supported my initially selected approach, but through a different perspective. Okay, and then I come to the conclusion. Also, from a broader point of view, such policies are not effective in the long term if there is benefit for all parties involved. So, to conclude, it can be said that providing financial support to businesses to employ migrants is the best course of action in this case, right? So, write something like this, you can get maximum marks in this question. Once again, if you can properly write properly have, like, for example, a small structure made with pencil before starting this question, and then just follow the proper paragraphing, then I'm pretty sure, inshallah, that you guys can get maximum marks in this question. It's not that hard. Now, one more thing that I want to basically cover is this Cambridge curveball. Now, this is very rare, one times out of seven, or one times out of eight, or one times out of 10, that in the last question, Cambridge gives you this, that instead of giving you three courses of action, it just uh, gives you a statement and then asks you whether you agree with the statement. And then the problem is not that this question is hard. This question is very simple. People should not migrate to find work because of the effects on their families. Do you agree with this statement? That's not the problem. What's the problem? The problem is how to satisfy this question for 20 marks. How can you write 20 marks worth of answer for such a simple thing? So, for this, what you have to do, you have to be careful. First, uh, tell whether you agree with this or not. Then write in the favor of this? Do you agree with this statement? Like the points that favor this statement, people should not migrate to find work because of their effects on their families. Like why this? Why one would agree with this? And then the opposite, that why people should migrate even though like the families are being affected. So then co- that should be the opposite thing. The two paragraphs, one paragraph that should cover the for points, and other paragraph that should cover the against points, and then give your conclusion. So instead of choosing one course of action and then two paragraphs for the course of actions that you did not select, just go for whether you agree with this or do not agree with this, then write one paragraph for the agree statement and then write one paragraph for the disagree statement. Of course you have to be much more lengthy in this case, and then just give your conclusion. That's how you attempt this question. But obviously this question is much more difficult to attempt as compared to the other question, because it is usually it's very hard to write 20 marks worth of answer for something this simple. So yeah, if such a question comes, make sure that you write points for both sides, use the source more maybe, but structure again is very important in this scenario as well. If you write this, if you follow the structure properly, then of course you should be able to answer this question. Okay, now before I gave you guys a form. Now before finishing off, I gave you guys a form. I'm just going to go to that form and see what additional questions are there. See, so if there are any questions that I have not catered to in this value judgment bias, we have covered. Of uh, Nadia Ali, value judgment, of course, we have covered. Uh, Tips for finding strengths and weaknesses. Now, okay, so you first need to know what strengths and weaknesses are. If you know what strengths are, if you know what weaknesses are, then it is very easy for you to find them in the exam, in the paragraph, or in the source. But first you should know, okay, strengths, what are strengths and what are weaknesses. Okay, how to confirm that generalization? Just see if the statement is saying something, like it is putting something out to be always the case. If any statement is doing that, then it's generalization. How to divide time? Okay, so 5 minutes for the 5 minutes for the source reading, 20 minutes question number one, 20 minutes question number two, 15 minutes question number three, and then 25 minutes last question. I think that should cover it. Next question. Sir, can you identify can you explain how to identify each type of statement? We have already covered this once again in this session. So just see the session. I've explained how to identify each type of statement. What are your UCL predictions? Barca lost yesterday. I hope Arsenal loses today. Let's go. How do we solve the causes and consequences question? Just read the question carefully. If he's asking for multiple causes and consequences, or he was just asking for one cause or consequence, and also make sure that at which level he is going to ask that question. Having said that, the the perspective question is more likely to come this time. The cause and consequence question might not come. In fact, I'm almost entirely sure that the cause and consequence question is not going to come like it used to come before. The perspective question is going to come this time, but still, you must be prepared for it. We have covered this. Next question is need help in question number three. So yeah, we have covered question number three again in this session. I have given you a sample answer and well as well, Mr. Zahid. So you should be that should clarify things up. Generalization has also been covered. Value judgment has also been covered. Nah, really, once again, writing it again and again. Value judgment and everything. Uh, can you come to the exam? The exam is what is the what at what time do you guys start going in? Like at what time do you guys start going in the exam hall? At one. That's okay. I'll try to be there by before one. Okay. Okay. Uh, oh, I'm not presenting the. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just. The next question is last question attempt. We have covered that as well. Generalization is covered. How to attempt the last question? Uh, uh, just follow the structure, like I said that follow the structure. Make sure that you do paragraphing properly, and then again use both the source and your personal information. That should be good enough. I have given you almost all the tips there are. They should help you out. Pattern of question number 20 marks question, we have covered it as well. Okay, importance of having knowledge of different questions. Okay, this is this of different importance of having different questions, knowledge of different questions. Now, this is a good one. Okay, all you have 22 topics in total, and we have covered majority of those topics. Now, what is important here is that you know at least some basic information regarding these topics. You should know some information, some read, let's say read one article about it, read some information about it from the internet, have a source. If you have my sources, then you can basically get the basics from those sources. So what that would do is it will really help you out in doing all this. And the maximum marks that you can get marks in higher 60s, but I can tell you that two to three students from my last batch, they got 69, 70, 69, 70 out of 70. So the sky is the limit. Next question. Okay, okay. Understanding question of structures have been explained. Space is never enough. So what should we do? Never write below the lines. Do not do that. Do not write below the lines. Do not write anywhere apart from the given space. If a question is extending, use extra sheet. This is very important. Always use extra sheet. You can ask them, they're going to give you. Do not write on the blank page or on the space below a question, because your questions are going papers, when they go to for checking, they scan those papers, and they, if if you write below the given space, it might not get scanned properly. So don't do that, never do that. 6 marks, global perspective. What do you have to write in that? So it depends on what the question is. Let me just give me 1 second. Just I'm just gonna add a new slide here. Just give me 1 second, okay? Uh, Now, a question can come in either of these formats. For example, it can you can they can ask you what are the causes of globalization at national level. Now, this means that you have to write multiple causes, maybe five, maybe six. Or they can ask you a question like this: explain a consequence of globalization at national and global level. Something like this. Now, in this case, you have to give one consequence and then elaborate it, one consequence at national level, and then one consequence at global level, and elaborate it. They can also ask you something like explain consequence. When they are saying explain, then you have to elaborate. When they are just saying what are or list down, then you have to just list down. However, having said that, this year, the question that is likely to come in the perspective question is not the causes and consequences. It's basically this question. The perspective question basically is going to be like this year. Like, describe the food charities perspective, or describe the this country's perspective, or describe the global perspective on hunger from source to. That is how this question is going to come this year. I don't know whether your particular teacher has update given you the updated pattern, has prepared you for the updated pattern, but make sure that you know how to solve this type of questions, because the simple causes and consequences question, right, you should know how to do it, and they're easy to do it, but they are not very likely to come. It's like less than 5% chance that they are going to come. What's going to come is something like this: uh, from either an organization or a person's or a national view from a source. They're going to ask you that describe the perspective on hunger, or describe the perspective on globalization. That's what the question is more likely to come. Okay, so for this type of questions, you may basically, if it's 6 marks, try to have, like, for example, 4 to 5 elaborated points. That's good enough. But make sure that you follow the instructions like this. You don't just reiterate what the examiner is saying. Just do what they are, uh, basically, to follow their perspective. Okay. Next question: should we take extra sheets? Yes, if you need it, always take extra sheets. Do not write beyond the line. Question number 3 has been covered. Most significant question has also been covered. Go through the source, go through the our session once again. If we can't find, what should we write? Okay, so that's not very likely that you will not be able to find Yeah. So talking about the strengths and weaknesses question, uh, it is not very likely that you will not be able to find any strengths and weaknesses. For example, if there are always some things missing from the source, there are always some things missing from the exam, from the, like for example, there's no expert opinion, no data, something like this. So always make sure that you are looking for the right strengths and weaknesses. You will always be able to find it. Don't worry, don't worry. One more question remaining, guys. That is, why certain issue is significant. Yes, this is again, like I said, the importance of this question is now much more as compared to before, because now the examiner is going to give this question for 8 marks. So for 8 marks you have to write more reasons. For 8 marks you have to elaborate those reasons more. And I think that should be good enough. So I guess I think that's it. I hope you guys do well. Best of luck for your examinations. Go through all the resources, go through all the data, go through the sessions, and if you have any issues, you guys can text me. I'll be available. And G, Raza, you have a question? Raza has a question. No question. Okay, guys. Let's wrap it up then. I hope you guys do well. Just what do you do now? Just revise. Go through the notes. Go through your notes. Go through the sessions once again. And if you do all that, you should be good enough. I'm. Do you? I can post all the important sessions in your GC if you want. If that's what you want, so you guys can go through them. Yeah, so I guess that's it, guys. Best of luck, inshallah. I hope you guys will do well. You guys all are have prepared well. Just make sure that you are doing well. Okay, and make sure that you are focused in the examinations, and don't panic. Okay, so good luck everyone, and hope you do best.